How y'all doing? I couldn't leave it like that. You know, it was rushed. I'm trying to get it into these little 15-minute blocks, but I couldn't leave it like that. So I'm gonna pick right back up where we started. Pick right back up where I left off. In part 10. Luke. So I can go ahead and read. Look, I wanted to read each one so you can see that these blocks that we read. Even though when I just normally read this growing up, I just read it. I just saw, okay, they were leaving the temple, and the disciples was like, "Hey, Jesus, you see these beautiful blocks that are on the sanctuary?" I did not know until I got deep into my personal study. That's why I say, y'all, read. Do not let the devil keep y'all. Ellen White, and I know there's many Christians say, and the devil wants you to believe she was a cult and things of that nature. But when I read, trust me, things like that, the devil doesn't want you to know. So like I said, if she's a devil worshiping and an occultist, she's not a very good one. She's not a very good one, because she actually exposes and enlightens, you know, and it just take historians and history. That's what I love about when you go back and you check the history behind it. Like, I did not know that those actual blocks that they were pointing at, and I did not realize this until I read The Great Controversy. This book, The Great Controversy. But, you know, but those actual blocks were the blocks that I just explained in the last video that Herod had specially made in Rome. These blocks were specially made in Rome and brought and added onto the sanctuary. So here the Jews had allowed Rome, pagan Rome, to beautify God's sanctuary. Have you allowed the world, pagan Rome, to add onto you? What has Rome added onto you? What blocks have you added onto your character, or added into your home, or brought into your church that is from Rome, from the great whore? But anyway, so the disciples are like, Jesus, you see these beautiful blocks and stones? And that's why Jesus says, not one stone will be left upon another. I couldn't imagine. Can you imagine, y'all? I gotta paint this picture. Can you imagine? The prince of the universe. We're talking about Jesus. At this time, he's the prince. You know, once he rose again, God anointed him king. But right now, he's the prince of the universe, doing the will of his father, the king, God the Father. And this is God the Father's house. The sanctuary is his house replicated on earth. And Jesus himself instituted all these things. You know, as John 1 tells us, all these things were instituted by Christ himself, you know, before he came down here as a babe. So Christ instituted the sanctuary and the worship and told them how to build. And he's sitting here like, you allowed pagan Rome, you allowed Satan to add onto my Father's house? I don't think we really realize the picture that's painted here. And he's like, and now you're marveling at how beautiful Rome has added on to the house of God. And what did he tell them before? He said, now your house is left unto you desolate. See, when you allow Rome, when we don't put up the gate, when we don't have the gate in our personal life and walk, and we just bring all manner of false and fake gods and idols into God's house and into our personal life, we will cause our life and our house to be left desolate. For God will, the Holy Spirit can't dwell where there's fake gods and fake false idols and things. That's why, like the verse I read in Jeremiah, God kept saying, you're going to bring these things into my house, into my presence. And what did Jesus tell them? Because eventually, when you add so much of Rome onto your life and into the church, it's no longer the God's sanctuary. It becomes what's known as Herod's temple, or Joshua's temple. You know, it's no longer the house of God. You no longer become of God. But in Luke 21 verse 5, and I wanted to show how the different sayings in the Gospels, how they were pointing out this one little situation. Because like I said, I never knew that those were pagan Roman blocks that the disciples were actually marveling after. Luke 21 verse 5 says, and as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. He said, as for these things which ye behold, he said, you're sitting here marveling after Rome, and I'm kidding. As for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. That shall not be thrown down. And as we know his famous words when he said, and thy house is now left unto you desolate. The house is now left unto you desolate. Meaning, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, you got a packed church. Yeah, you got all these things in your home. But is Jesus there? Is God there? All because you didn't have a gate. You didn't have a gate. You brought all these things in from the world. All these different gods and your little gods and that we have in our lives that some of us refuse to let go. We brought these things into God's house, into his presence. The devil used us to get into holy ground. And that is why the gate is so crucial. That is why the gate is so crucial. There has to be a dividing line, a separation. You know, the devil has Christians believing that any manner of things and teachings and ideals and things can be brought into the churches. And just look at it nowadays. Sometimes I remember one time I'm at this church function, and a whole bunch of different churches that came together for this one guy's cotillion to raise money. And there are many different churches there, and I was invited there, and I'm sitting there, and you know, it was just like any common club. I kid you not. I literally had to look down and sometimes because I wrestle with lusting, and I'm sitting there trying not to lust, but I'm sitting down and there are women standing up, they dancing in the aisles to the music, and I'm sitting in the pew, and their butts are eye level because they're standing up. I'm sitting down, and I even saw one kid looking at his mom with a disgusted face, like, sit down, you know. And then they're wearing tight skirts and stuff, and they're standing up dancing, and I'm sitting there, and at one point I had to look down, you know, because I'm sitting there like, man, you know, everywhere, it was just everywhere, boo, 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 boo. And then there was a guy rapping in the sanctuary. You know, everything has its place. Everything has its place, but do we understand we're in the presence of a holy God? And when you study the sanctuary, the seraphims, the angels that stand in the presence of God, don't even uncover their face or lift their heads up. It says they stand with their heads bowed and eyes covered, because they're in the presence of a holy God. And here, if the angels will not even lift their eyes and lift their heads up in his presence, we come into his presence in all kinds of manners. And anyway, they're sitting there with this rapper, yeah, say, go Jesus, go Jesus, go in there in the sanctuary like this, go Jesus, go Jesus. You know, some things, and I'm not clowning them, because some things are done in the earnestness of your heart. But like I said, out of ignorance, the devil attacks many and will cause many to die. Out of ignorance, the devil plays on our ignorance, and the one place he has kept us ignorant is the sanctuary, beloved. And as I read in the last part of Jeremiah, I'm talking about those were heated words. God was not happy at all, you know. And that's why God can, some of the things that we allow in the sanctuary. I know there's this praise dancing with the sign language and things of that nature. Okay, signing is okay if you have people who are deaf in the church, but I saw it as line dancing. You know, several females get up, and you have to really think about it. Nobody does the homework of where does these things come from. They just, oh, that's nice, I want to do it. They're in black leotards. First you're in black tights, you know, already tights showing. Who said it's okay to wear yoga pants in the sanctuary? A lot of men are already dealing and wrestling with lusting. Who said it's okay to come to church in yoga pants and leotards and tights? But they wear black leotards and tights, and you have about 3 or 4, and they're all doing. Who said it's okay to dance loosely in the presence of the Lord? And they say, well, we're signing, but it's coordinated line dancing like frats and fraternities. Hey, 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 you know, it's all the same thing. It's dancing, and you know, But it's disrespecting the Most High. We've allowed just anything to come on into the house of God. And what does he say? He said, because we listen to people who say it's okay. It's church. What does Jeremiah say? Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 8. For those who didn't see the part right before this, he says, behold, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will ye steal, murder, commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom ye know not? Many of us do these things and don't do our homework on where these things originate from, where they come from, who started it. Or like he says, ye know not, and he's talking about himself, our ignorance of God himself, God the Father, that even in the sanctuary, that those who came into his presence in the heavenly courts came in holiness. And we're before the God of the universe, but we just come in any type of way, and here the angels won't even lift the wings over their eyes. He says, and come, verse 10, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say we are delivered to do all of these abominations. And then he says it again, in this house, which is called by my name, has become a den of robbers in your eyes. Behold, even I have seen it, saith the Lord. And how are they robbing? Because you are robbing other true, earnest Christians. I'm telling you, this was to me first. When I bring all of these different mentalities and spirits and traits and things into God's presence or into my home, I'm robbing people of the presence of God, because the Holy Spirit can't dwell where these fake and false gods are. So I've actually become a robber, a thief, stealer, murderer, and all of that. I'm committing adultery. Everything he just named, I'm committing in his house when I bring false idols and fake gods into his presence. Beloved, this thing is deep. This is deep, and that's why it was a must. I share and focus on the sanctuary. No matter how much I know people gonna keep seeing the title SuperHuman, how many titles is, part 23? But this is a must. This is life-changing to me. This is life-changing to me. And like I said, the sanctuary is threefold. In your personal life, have your gate up in your personal life. Have the gate up in your actual church where you go fellowship. And have the gate up in your home. In your home, your personal character, your home, and in your church. And watch the difference, y'all. Watch the difference. Take an honest look at yourself and see what building blocks of Rome have you allowed to be built in these three areas of your life. What building blocks of Rome are in your home, in your personal character, and in your church. Y'all have a good one. Take care.